Hello there, it's Rebecca from Rebecca Art Tutor, back with another video. This video is about inspiration. How do we find inspiration and what do we do when we don't feel very inspired to create art? In this video I should be sharing a few tips with you to how to feel creative if you're really not. So let's get into the video. When it comes to inspiration, I think there's two things to think about. The first one is to increase the things that inspire us and do more of those things, and to lessen the things that do not inspire us or make us feel demotivated. So number one, I think, is crucial, which is to get out and observe. So get out into the world, observe is where a lot of the inspiration comes from. And for me, that's the natural world. I like to get out and observe nature around me. I find it very inspiring. And this is where a lot of ideas come for my artwork. Now, it might be that you don't know what inspires you, so it's even more important to get out and be curious and just see where you're led with your interests. When you're out, I think it's important to take that time to really look and observe. So when we're rushing around in our busy world, we don't really look properly at the colour of the sky or the texture of the leaves. We just don't take that time. So when you're out, be purposeful and really observe everything with fresh eyes. And one way to do this for me is to take pictures. I like to take my camera out with me and record what I see, what interests me, and then that becomes my reference material for the artwork. Another tip is to gather reference materials or ideas for the future. So if I see a technique that I'm interested in, I save it to a Pinterest board. If I see an artwork, another artist's work that I'm interested in, I might save it to a Pinterest board. Or if I have an object that I think's interesting and I might like to draw, I will put it in a box. So I'm kind of gathering reference materials for when I'm feeling less inspired. Another tip that works for me is to experiment with materials. So sometimes I don't feel like creating artwork, so I just mess around with paint, or I just get a pencil out and make some marks. Now, I used to feel quite self-indulgent doing this, and I felt that I had to produce something and that I couldn't take this time to just play with materials. But now I feel that that's not how I feel anymore. I feel that it is important to take the time to experiment with materials, and it often is a way into art. So if you're not feeling like creating artwork, just get out the pencils, the paints, and it will probably lead somewhere. And if it doesn't, you've probably just learnt more about materials. If I'm feeling quite sort of demotivated and uninspired, I often like to do a sort of low challenge activity. So that might be just painting a background ready to draw on, just putting some watercolour blobs on a piece of paper, or finishing off an existing artwork, or just a very simple drawing. So nothing too complex, nothing that I really have to think too much about, and that is a way in to perhaps doing more complex things later. The other thing that I've noticed is that if I spend a lot of time looking on Instagram at other artists and comparing myself, I can feel quite demotivated, and it seems to sap my creativity, as well as feeling tired and drained can make me feel uncreative. So in those circumstances, I just accept that I might need to rest, and the inspiration will come to me when I'm feeling a little bit more energized. And getting out, observing is definitely one way that I can feel inspired again. So I hope those tips help, and I hope they've given you a few ideas, and I shall see you in the next video.